Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rekt Capital, and thank you guys for 4,000 subscribers. What an amazing day. What an amazing milestone. Really appreciate you guys tuning into the channel on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, whatever the case may be. Your support means a lot to me, and without your support, and I've said this in the previous video, without your support, Rekt Capital wouldn't really mean much, but I am happy to be producing this content for you guys, and I'm happy that you're enjoying it. So without further ado, let's dive right into today's update and talk about Bitcoin specifically, because the previous video was about altcoins. We're going to talk about Bitcoin and what its predicament is on the higher timeframes. Because BitMex and whatever has happened since, and there's always a catalyst that always accelerates a technical price predicament. And I've been talking about this on my Twitter, where essentially Bitcoin was setting itself up for a quarterly close of 10,800, where we closed on the quarter at the end of quarter two in mid 2019 and rejected from there. So we pretty much set ourselves up for a rejection from this point. And I got a comment from a follower on Twitter that my TA had nothing to do with it. It's the BitMex situation. And I understand the follower who said that, where it's coming from. But in the case of TA, things somehow are always priced in. Because this psychology is priced in to a certain extent. Because people weren't quite confident. They were a bit hesitant with everything going on in the world. Not a lot of confidence, quite a bit of hesitation, and that sort of psychology manifests itself in price. So whenever we see a catalyst, a negative catalyst like the BitMex situation come into play, that sort of catalyst accelerates this sort of technical predicament that has been playing out for a while now. It's been a few weeks that we've been struggling with 10,800 for Bitcoin. So for me, I didn't even know about the BitMex FUD coming in. I only read about it once I saw this rejection. So that prediction played out TA-wise, but I wasn't surprised that that sort of catalyst, that a negative catalyst like that has accelerated this move. So in any case, this is the second quarterly close below 10.8K in its history. But the good thing is, if we can actually see a positive in this situation, and I'm gonna explain this to you guys because this is a bit of a bearish predicament for Bitcoin at the moment. We were seeing lower highs for Bitcoin over the past few quarters, but we didn't quite paint that consecutive lower high, because at the time that I mentioned this on Twitter, we had this lower high at around 10,600, so a slightly lower high compared to this high, but in any case, we finally closed at an equal high. So this lower high, consecutive series of lower highs hasn't been prolonged, but on the back of that, we have an equal high, just below a very strong resistance. Now, how strong is this resistance going to be? Because we've tested it already, that's already led to a rejection, and now we're testing it again, and I don't think that we're going to have as strong a downside from this point as we had a few quarters back. We're probably going to see shallower retracement, but retracement nonetheless, because we have just closed on a higher time frame below a higher time frame resistance. So, and of course we even saw FOMO wicks past this level, so just like before, and just like here as well, we tend to see FOMO past these very strong resistances because these resistances catch up with the FOMOers. This is where sell side action comes from early buyers who bought around here or even around here, and they're offloading at this resistance. So FOMO buyers are buying less Bitcoin at a higher price compared to the early buyers who bought a lot of Bitcoin at a lower price. So there's that discrepancy there, and that's why we see FOMO wicks essentially get printed and, you know, this sell side pressure come in and translate into price. So there is a rejection coming on here, and you could even argue that this is going to be a double top right over here, but how much of a rejection could we see? Because it's really important that these lower time frame structures don't lose the support, because that would indeed mean that this is a topping out pattern over here, comparing and very similar to this topping out structure. So a local top around here. So far we've seen a 21% retracement in this bull market from Bitcoin, and we tend to see 27 to 43% retracements historically speaking. So 21% isn't necessarily a deep retrace by any means. So closing below this quarterly resistance is a bit of a precarious situation because Bitcoin can go a little bit lower, but it won't go lower as long as it doesn't lose this weekly higher low. So this tendency of people buying the dip with each little retracement, people are happy to buy the dip. But if we don't have that confidence continue, especially in the midst of this whole FUD that we're seeing from BitMex, we could see a breakdown. So that's something to bear in mind. But let's zoom out a bit into the weekly predicament and what we're really seeing, what's going on really. And we have to talk about the post-halving range because this gives a lot of context to what we're seeing at the moment. A post-halving range, once it breaks out, tends to form a range of its own above the post-halving range. So that's essentially what we're seeing. Yes, we are seeing a ranging behavior within what could be a ascending triangle, but we're seeing ranging behavior nonetheless above the post-halving range. So even if we were to lose this weekly higher low, then we'd return to around the range high of the post-halving range of 9,700, because that level, that's a CME gap that hasn't actually been filled yet, and it's confluent with the range high of the post-halving range. So a revisit like so over here to continue the consolidation like so would be very much in line with historical recurring price tendencies that we see in Bitcoin's price action after the halving. And guys, if you're enjoying this sort of content, by the way, this is content that I'm going to be releasing to my newsletter subscribers every week, 3 times a week, starting from October 12th. So if you want to dive into the newsletter, check it out. It's going to be fantastic. Early bird discount of $5 a month, and that means less than 50 cents per newsletter. What a bargain. Check out the link in the description down below, because this is analysis that really matters, especially in times where we see strong panic and fear translate into price. But in fact, we are just consolidating on the macro scale above a key level. And let's zoom into the daily time frame, because this is a symmetrical triangle. I want to see how this higher low is going to react. Very important that it holds, because whenever we see a strong sell side crash like this, we tend to see flagging structures appear. And symmetrical triangles have a 50-50 chance of resolving themselves towards the upside or towards the downside. But whenever we see these sort of crashes and this sort of flagging occurs, that's quite strange. It's a bit of a cautious situation, because these could be bear flags, which is why I really want to see this higher low hold, because if it doesn't, this will have been a bear flag, and we're probably going to see further consolidation towards the range high of this post-halving range. So this is the structure that has to be our focus going into the weekend. Let's see how the BitMex FUD continues to occupy our minds and the crypto sphere. It could go away quickly, but we could still see some translation of that into the price action as people become more and more panicky about the situation. But in any case, guys, wishing you a fantastic weekend and a fantastic Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and of course consider dropping a like if you enjoyed the video. That's about it for today's video update. Thank you so much. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak soon.